Cars.co.za.
Budget insurance. Affordable because you can't afford not to.
Hello and welcome to another Cars.co.za video. It's been a while since we've done one from as remote a location as Italy, but that's where I am. I'm here driving every Porsche GTS model in the lineup on the track. Some days are harder than others, it would seem. The GTS is a slightly hard to wrap your head around model within the Porsche lineup. So I'm going to try and explain what is a Porsche GTS in the easiest way possible whilst doing laps of a circuit I don't really know behind a 911 Turbo S. So yes, Porsche GTS. It stands for Gran Turismo Sport, which in its simplest terms, Gran Turismo kind of meaning like long distance-y, inter-town driving, certainly road driving, and sport, pretty self-explanatory. Sport driving, good for tracks, dynamic sort of stuff. So the GTS kind of blends those two worlds in the best way that Porsche sees possible. So with the Porsche GTS, you always get something a little bit special rather than just them choosing the option packs for you. You get a little bit more power generally, anywhere between sort of like 10 and 25 kilowatts depending on which range or which model you picked. And you can sometimes get lighter weight, so you can get lighter wheels. You also get things like sports bucket seats, or in Alcantara or Race Techs as they like to call it. And you get the sports chrono package, which generally makes it a little bit faster as well. Adaptive suspension in some of them as well. So Porsche individualizes its GTS depending on which car you're picking. So if we're in here, we're in the Cayman GTS, you get a little bit of extra power. You've got that beautiful 4-litre flat 6 high revving naturally aspirated engine. It's an absolute perler. In the GTS range, it starts with Cayman. Cayman is a driver's car par excellence. It's really something that you can wrap your head around quite quickly. It's so progressive in the way it handles. It's so linear. The steering is just, it's beautiful. It's probably going to be my favorite Porsche to drive. It always will be. Oh, the front end grips so nicely. There's great balance. The back end, you understand exactly what's going on when you drive this car. It just all comes together beautifully in a tight-knit sports car. The brakes are fantastic. You can just hang it in there, do a little bit of a drifty thingy. It was quite cool. This thing is the perfect sports car, in my opinion. It's as good as you can get today. It's just so balanced, man. You go in, turn, flit flat. There's no hint that it's going to bite you. You really have to drive this like an animal to really rub it the wrong way. It's so beautiful to drive, man. So good. It's nicely weighted. You sit so low in this car, you don't get that sort of like unnatural sensation that the car's leaning or not. It's almost race car-esque in the way you sit nice and low. Some of the bigger ones like the Panamera or the Taycan can feel a little bit top heavy, and you don't get that immediate like bite and traction from the wheels as you turn it in. But the Cayman is perfect. You're mid-engined in here as well. So it's not like the other Porsches, which are either rear-engined or front-engined. This is mid-engined. So it's the most balanced of the Porsches, I'd say. Probably use that word balance quite a lot in describing the Cayman, but we'll jump into some of the others and give them a bit of a go, I think. My time with the Cayman is up. Now, I said we were going to drive a few GTS models. This is the Taycan GTS, the newest GTS in the range, and it's got over 500 kilometers of range. It's incredible for something that has more performance, more power, more torque, over 850 newtons of torque. It's crazy, but obviously Porsche are developing their electric tech more and more. Now in this car, it is possibly the strangest Porsche I've driven around track. They've added the sound. You've got that Porsche sound when you hit the brakes. You've got that kind of starship whoop, whoop, that kind of effect, but it doesn't actually mimic what's going on outside of the car. It's a very different experience to any other Porsche you're going to drive. I suspect that if I was buying a GTS, because of the dual nature of the GTS, the sort of track and road elements to it, I think the Taycan is a bit of a strange choice in that regard, because it probably doesn't deliver the same sort of track thrills over the other Taycans as you'd expect. As you come off the throttle, even with the regeneration off, there's a bit of retardation, and then when you hit the brakes, it's a slightly unnatural feel because there's no sort of engine braking against you or sort of natural braking feel. It's very strange. So you kind of get no braking and then a lot of braking as you hit the pedal hard. And it's quite difficult to kind of figure that out or how to get the best out of it because it's braking the car so hard. But I will say that when you're on the power, like that 911 Turbo S out of a corner cannot stick with me. But as soon as we get up to speed, he can sort of jump away from me. But it's just a little bit weird under braking. But it corners flat. It corners flat like you'd expect from a Porsche. And because you don't have that engine noise, you've got a lot more tire noise. And the tire noise is like the first indication that you're kind of hitting those limits of grip. And it's quite difficult to figure out whether there's more because you're not used to hearing that sound. So you kind of back off a little bit because you're not entirely sure whether you can push these tires any further, because they're normally deafened out by the sound of the flat six. But I gotta say, it's pretty damn good. It's a completely different driving experience and not and out of corners. It's just got so much punch initially, but doesn't unsettle the car obviously. So interesting drive, probably not the purest drive, and I think if you're buying a Porsche to try and do a lot of track days or fun days, maybe the Taycan's not the best in that regard. You're probably going to want a petrol powered Porsche for that. But this is a very good Taycan and impressive, I gotta say. I've jumped into the 911 Carrera 4 GTS. So above Carrera 4S, but below 4 Turbo, if that makes sense. Oh, Sports Plus, let's not do that just yet. Goodness, these cars are quick. So as I said, kind of GTS again, stepping up from a 4S, but not quite turbo. You don't have that crazy, enormous, scary pants power that you get from a turbo. GTS cars are always kind of the driver's picks of the range before you start to jump into things like GT3s or GT2s that are hilariously fast, but not always the easiest cars to drive. So your GTS, I would say, kind of brings that mixture of on-road performance, but still a track day toy. You really do get full on the best of both worlds when it comes to your GTS package. From the competition, the likes of like BMW and Mercedes and other sort of sports car makers, you don't get that kind of balance. You've got almost sometimes aggressive power, but you've got such linearity with how Porsche delivers everything from the engine power to the steering. Everything just kind of like comes at you with progression, so you can build into a Porsche driving experience. See, I just booted out of a corner there and it's still got traction, but I can feel it's just starting to lose it, and that's not something you always get from sports cars. Sometimes they can just snap on you, or they just turn into horrible understeer. Turn it in, little bit of understeer, then the balance comes back and you just jump on the throttle. Look at that. It just tracks a beautiful line on the way out. Jump on the brakes. Medium speed right hand corner. Just run a little bit of understeer, keep turning it, and then get on the throttle. You can feel that back end when it's on the limit. Just turn power on. From turbo engines, it's just so linear, man. You don't expect it from a turbo engine. You expect it to kick you a little because of the way that the turbo comes in with a whole bunch of torque. But from Porsche engines, you don't get that. It just continues on like this linear trajectory of power and balance. I can see why Porsche wants to market the GTS at the moment. It kind of is that like perfect blend of what Porsche is. You can have your road cars and you can have your track cars, but this is kind of that like beautiful blend of both parts together. And I'd be hard pressed to choose between a 911 and a Cayman, I gotta say. Oof, this was good. I'll come up with a verdict later. So you might be thinking, well, why don't I just make my own GTS? All of these options are available on a standard Porsche. You can spec things like the seats, you can spec the sports chrono pack. Things you can't spec though are the design elements that make the GTS a GTS. So at the front you get your own kind of like, it's got its own bumper design, it's got blacked out gills or grills. And then you've also got the wheels. The wheels are all black and you've got black side skirts and it actually says GTS when you open the door. So there are little elements that make it kind of different from the rest of the range. And it's now available in just about every single Porsche. There you have it. I hope I've gone some way into explaining what a Porsche GTS is. If I haven't, let us know in the comments below, but mostly let us know what your favorite model in the Porsche lineup is. We're excited to see what you guys think. Cool. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.
Do you like clothes? I do. This is available right now on our SentiMETAL shop. Just go to Cars.co.za/shop or look for the description in the link below. See what I did there? Just trying to catch you out. And we've got tons of exclusive merchandise which is designed and made exclusively for our store. I said exclusive twice because it's very exclusive. Also hats.
Budget insurance. Affordable because you can't afford not to.
Cars.co.za